Right then, you lot, gather round and listen up. Let's talk about a proper car company, one that practically invented luxury on four wheels, Rolls-Royce. Back in 1904, two blokes, Charles Rolls and Henry Royce, teamed up. Rolls, a bit of a posh bird with a nose for business, and Royce, a genius engineer who could probably build a car out of biscuits and string. Their first masterpiece? The Silver Ghost. This thing was quieter than a church mouse, smoother than a freshly shaven chin, and more luxurious than a Maharaja's palace. It was so good, in fact, that it earned the title, Best Car in the World. No arguments here. The Silver Ghost wasn't just a pretty face though, it was stuffed with innovations like the first ever six-cylinder engine in a production car. It was reliable too, which is more than you can say for most cars back then. They were about as dependable as a chocolate teapot. But Rolls and Royce weren't done yet, not by a long shot. They wanted to conquer the skies as well, and conquer they did. More on that later. Just as the world was losing its mind in the trenches of World War I, Rolls-Royce turned their considerable talents to the skies. They started building aircraft engines, and not just any old engines, mind you. These were the sorts of engines that could power a biplane through a hurricane. The Eagle, their first masterpiece, was a beast of an engine. It powered the Vickers Vimy, the first plane to cross the Atlantic non-stop. Not bad for a company that started by making fancy cars, eh? Of course, when World War II came knocking, Rolls-Royce answered the call with gusto. They churned out Merlin engines like they were going out of fashion. These engines were the beating hearts of iconic planes like the Spitfire and the Hurricane. You could say they played a teensy role in winning the Battle of Britain. After the war, Rolls-Royce kept on innovating. They built jet engines that could outrun the sound barrier and engines that could power jumbo jets across oceans. So, next time you're jetting off on holiday, remember the blokes who made it possible. Right, back to the cars. After the war, Rolls-Royce got back to doing what they did best, building cars for the super rich and famous. They rolled out models like the Silver Wraith, the Silver Cloud, and the Phantom, all of which were about as subtle as a brick to the face. These cars were dripping with luxury. We're talking leather seats softer than a baby's backside, carpets you could lose a small dog in, and enough wood trim to make a rainforest jealous. They were also ridiculously powerful, with engines that could make a cheetah feel inadequate. But it wasn't all plain sailing. The 1960s and 70s were tough times for British industry, and Rolls-Royce wasn't immune. They went through mergers, takeovers, and even nationalization. It was messier than a plate of bangers and mash after a stag do. Section 4. Turbulence and Triumph Navigating the Storms of Change. Now, the 1970s weren't exactly a golden age for British car-making. It was more like a rusty age, with strikes, shoddy quality, and dodgy facial hair galore. Rolls-Royce, despite their posh image, weren't immune. Money was tighter than a hippo in a wetsuit. They tried to sex things up a bit with the Camargue, a wedge-shaped oddball that looked like it had been designed by a committee of blindfolded toddlers. It was about as successful as a chocolate fireguard, sadly. But just when things were looking grimmer than a rainy Tuesday in Stoke, along came a white knight. Or rather, a white and blue knight in the form of BMW. Section 5. A new millennium, a new dawn, BMW takes the reins. In 1998, BMW swept in and bought the Rolls-Royce brand. And you know what? They haven't looked back since. BMW poured money into Rolls-Royce like it was going out of fashion. They built a brand new factory, hired the best engineers, and basically told them to go wild. The result? The Rolls-Royce Phantom, a car so opulent it makes Buckingham Palace look like a garden shed. It's got more gadgets than a Bond car, an interior that's quieter than a library, and an engine that could probably tow a small moon. But BMW didn't stop there. They also launched the Ghost, the Wraith, and the Cullinan SUV, all of which have been massive hits with the people who can actually afford them. Section 6. The future is electric and luxurious, Rolls-Royce's Sustainable Symphony. So, what's next for Rolls-Royce? Well, they're not resting on their laurels, that's for sure. They're busy developing electric cars because even the super rich care about the planet. A bit. They've already unveiled the Spectre, a sleek electric coupe that looks like it's been beamed back from the future. It's got more power than a hydroelectric dam and enough luxury to make a Roman emperor blush. So, there you have it. The story of Rolls-Royce is a tale of innovation, luxury, and a fair bit of British eccentricity, And from the looks of it, it's a story that's only going to get more interesting in the years to come. Now if you'll excuse me, I've got a champagne picnic to attend in the back of a Phantom.